Jesus, you say that you're not special and that you should not be considered so. But why did God choose to remove the errors of your parents from only you in the first century life?
There's a very simple reason, and that is that God foreknows everything, and God foreknew that I would have the desire to follow through. I'd be the first one who was alive up to that point who would have that desire to connect to God and to discover God's truth. And in the foreknowledge, God knew that I would need some assistance to do that. And so God gave me the assistance to do it, knowing that I would probably do it, or that I would do it. And that's why it happened. If God felt that it would not have that I would not have done it, then God would not have given me that assistance. He would have waited and given it to somebody else.
Because also there was this feeling from God, wasn't there, that if one person could do it on earth, then that would kind of open a great deal of hope and possibility and faith for everyone else. So it was just the aspect of having one person actually achieve that at-one-ment state with God.
I think you're missing the point of what I'm trying to make, though, and that is that the decision was made by God at the time of my conception, or even before. And this is why sometimes I have in the past used the term that I was sent by God, in the sense that God knew that our soul, and particularly the male part of that soul, because of the circumstances and situations that involved females and males in the first century, he knew that part of the soul would take up that challenge if given the opportunity, whereas before then no one would have, given the degrees of their personalities and different degrees of injury that existed within the soul. No one before me would have taken that opportunity. And so God had to wait for humanity to get to a stage where there was somebody who would come along who would actually take the opportunity. And once God recognized that there was once the person who God knew would incarnate with that desire incarnated, then God could actually assess that person by removing the one injury that needed to be removed, which is the injury of low self-worth, which all of humanity actually has. And once that particular injury was removed, God knew that this person would then choose to discover the things that God wanted the human race to discover. And that's the only way in which God made the decision. Now, if our soul was not that soul that would have discovered those particular things, then it would not have been offered such an opportunity. So in my mind, that does not make us special. It makes us uniquely qualified by some personality traits, which, by the way, God created. They're not ours by the fact that we manufactured them.
We didn't design them or manufacture them.
God created them in the first place, and God knew that the personality traits of that individual arriving at that time on earth that individual would desire to establish a relationship with God if given the opportunity of the worth, being a level playing field, the same worth. And all he basically did was give me the same worth that Ammon and a man had in the first as the first human couple, Adam and Eve. Basically, if he was thinking of them that way, they had an opportunity, which was that they were perfect they were without sin when they were created. They had an opportunity to sin or to not sin. So I still had, in the first century, even after God removed the sin, if you like, of low self-worth, the feeling of low self-worth that drives humanity, that's been present in humanity ever since Ammon and a man, I still had the opportunity to sin. I just did not take the opportunity, right? And God foreknew that there was going to be eventually a soul on the planet that would choose to do that. And whether that was ours or someone else's, it really does not matter very much, as long as somebody came along. There's a lovely statement that's in I think it's the Life of Elysian. It says that the water was rising over a long period of time and nobody really noticed until the soul came along that actually embraced the opportunity that God was offering.
And what was that opportunity, just so we can...
To receive God's love.
To receive God's love.
So God made the opportunity at that moment because God knew that was the soul that would probably take the opportunity given the help that God had already given it.
Yeah.
And this is why I keep saying to people, we are not special.
Yeah.
Because I am very cognizant of the fact that God gave us many opportunities, one of which is that God created our personality in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, there was the humanity rose to the condition where a person could come along and want to have this relationship with God. And thirdly, God then helped that person so that all humanity could have that opportunity. Yes. God helped that person so that person wouldn't have the taint of sin before they made their choices and decisions. Mm-hmm. So God gave that person the opportunity mm-hmm. that he also gave the first human couple. Yeah. And that's why I'm often referred to as the last Adam, or, that's the Bible term, but that is something that I did say in the first century, in the sense that I was offered the same opportunity as a mon and a man were offered, and no other opportunity other than that. And I could have chosen to sin just like a mon and a man did. Yeah. And just because you're perfect in love, it doesn't mean that you can't choose sin.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,